and join in, and then we will begin. So we're just going to take one quick minute. All right, so let's get started. As I mentioned, this is a panel on STEM workforce in Pakistan, from the lens of COVID-19 pandemic. And we are going to focus on opportunities and critical skills. Um, and we have really panelists with us, each an expert in their own right, in their own fields. Um, and we are going to begin Dr. Shah Rukh, who is actually a stellar scientist, a personal inspiration for me. She's a principal investigator of the Biosensors Research Group, my research area of interest, so that's why I'm really excited about it. She's an assistant professor at the Ataur Rahman School of Applied Biosciences at NUST. She holds a PhD from University of Cambridge in biotechnology, and her research interests, well, as I mentioned before, they focus on biosensor development, but also drug delivery, targeted gene delivery, imaging, and so much more. She has expertise in microfluidics and bioengineering as well. And she actually works together with industry as well, which is what we're going to focus on in this talk today. We're going to look at development of diagnostics and biosensors from lab to market, and currently what is happening in Pakistan. So I'll hand it over to Dr. Shah Rukh for sharing her insights regarding this topic with us, and then we'll come back. Over to you, Dr. Shah Rukh.
Thank you so much, Saba, for a very nice introduction and giving me an honor to speak at this forum. Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. And as Saba has already had a detailed introduction of me, so I wouldn't waste a minute in introducing myself. It is indeed a challenging time for to actually implement and to see what critical skills we can put in to get more productive in this in this pandemic, where most of the activities including the academia and including the research is highly paralyzed due to the lockdowns and the SOPs and all that. But nevertheless, we still have, alhamdulillah, we are in an age that where we can interact still. We can instill have many things mutual and can reach around the globe, even though virtually. So we still can make out of these things as well. Initially, you need to have what I would say that as when I came back from Cambridge, I had only the research experience I had only in the PhD. I didn't had any job experience before. I didn't had any research experience before. So the moment why I got admission into the PhD directly after my bachelor's, and that bachelor also didn't had any research component. So the only thing I believe, even now, even after I graduated in 2014. So even after that time, or even after a decade of after my admission, I still believe we need to have no fear or no hesitation in applying and no hesitation in reaching out to our goals. So the moment, that time I was too naive that to look for only the Cambridge and apply there. I must know that you can't really just go and apply and all that. You must have some hard work behind that. I agree, but most of the time, which I see in my students now during my academic professional experience, is that we worry too much. We worry too much about, like, oh my god, if there is a competition out there, and how would we come on, you are NUS students, you are in a much better place than what I had. We are much better place to have an on-hands experience to practice your research and all that, and have a FYP component and have research in your masters and all that. So I think first of all we need to have no hesitation in applying, no hesitation in reaching out to our goals. I think that's the most important thing to go for. Then the thing which I believe is lacking in Pakistan is sitting in our cocoons. We try to, there are traditional researchers, including, if I'm a biologist, or if I'm sitting in a department of biology, I'll only meet the people, or I'll only deal the people, or do the research only with the biology people. I might not have, I would say no. I mean, I wouldn't be, I would have a wrong assumption, or probably not enough broad perspective, that I might not be suitable to research with engineers, or let's say with the IT staff and that. And this pandemic has made us realize that you can't really work in silos. You can't really work in, if you are too focused on your own things, then you might not be able to deliver something which is useful for your country, or which is useful in true terms to your to the community. We will just stuck in the blue sky research otherwise. So this is the skill set, that number one, go and get degree, of course, but then don't, just try to talk to each other, just try to create network as much as possible. And that actually helped me when I came back here. I have worked on, as you already know, Saba might be experiencing already in her PhD, that you work on very tiny bit of the research during your PhD, but that gives you the skill set, that you can investigate, that gives you this intrusive and uh, curiosity nature to look into a productive and in an investigative manner, and to try to solve that problem. So that skill set is actually more important than that tiny bit of that research which you are focusing on for later years. So once you have already that, then you can apply that, and you can broaden your research. That was the same thing. I think that's the similar thing for the many of the APs here, and the biases, and the academicians here, that once they come back, they, of course, they might not find the similar stuff. And for us in Pakistanis who have um, you know gained their degrees, the post PhDs from abroad, and have already used to the very high tech laboratories, but they have to settle down here, come back, and so it's a reverse trauma which they are facing. Okay, how will we settle in? But that's the actually challenge. Who would do that? Who would be, if you are not trained enough to do in your work? So who would go for those challenges, and who would make those mediocre labs a high standard lab, or at least deliver something? So the first purpose is that try to talk to, so when we come back, so try to get adapted as soon as possible in the situation, in the circumstances you have been put in. So women have, alhamdulillah, they are growth creatures of, they who have the ability to get adapted more, more, I would say, more probably suitably, or more, in a rationally, than compared to men. I do not want to offend my men colleagues here, but I believe that they are more adaptive to the circumstances they are put in. They are, I think, by default made for this. So so they actually, so as soon as you get adapted to that, then you can talk to each other. You can, even if you don't have grants, or you don't have resources, fully resources to run your lab, then you can just work in collaboration, just talk to work together, and then you can build it up. And the most important thing in our field, in the STEM technology, is that forget about your own tiny bit of research. Forget about that. You were practiced during that time to to go through. My director used to tell me when I was doing my PhD. He was not my supervisor, but my collaborator as well, but the director of institute. That the PhD is the line, or the STEM field is the line. When you get a good result, or you become happy, don't get too overexcited. It just pulls you down to come back to the mainstream. And when you are depressed and not getting the results, so don't get too depressed. It just pulls you up, so that you can come back to that median line. So if you retain that balance, then you are fine, then you're working fine. So when I came back here, I was from the, I hope I am audible and to all of you because Saba just disappeared. Hello? Yeah. Okay. So when I came back, so I was because of my bioengineering background, and I worked with the engineers, and I had multidisciplinary, which was not very common at that time in the biology departments in universities here. So I had faced that I found myself unfit sort of in the people who were working on genetics and molecular biology in the fundamental sciences, and they are absolutely very genius people. I mean, I'm no doubt about it, but it was something that I had to figure out how would I do that. And then I started, nobody stopped me. I mean, nobody stopped me doing the collaboration with electrical engineering departments or mechanical engineering departments, and they encourage that. So it's usually in Pakistan, of course, right, the global trends goes, it is also after those multidisciplinary technologies. Pakistan also wants to go, and the universities also wants to go toward the entrepreneurship and commercialization science. But we need to realize that it shouldn't be just in talks, and shouldn't be just in uh, shouldn't be just in the advices from the VC or the notifications from the VCs and rectors. You have to put an effort. Each and every individual have to put an effort. For the ladies who are at the and earlier careers, they have to make and design something which is usable for the COVID, usable for the current times, usable for the people to use and apply. And for the students, they also have to look beyond and look and get into the research, read the papers rather than relying on that, some supervisor would come and give them an instruction to follow like a technician. I would have hired a technician rather than a student if I was not interested in an intellectual caliber of them. So so I think that's the main requirement, that we need to think. And this COVID has globally realized everybody that even if we have research at Stanford and Cambridge and all that, we still are not ready at any place. We still are not ready to accept and deal with the pandemic. We are such a paralyzed. And I think this is a moment we should think about, where what are we spending those billions and billions of resources on. It's not meant to do the blue sky research. It's not meant to. It's the first priority is to actually deliver something to the community. If we know something, why don't we just do and apply? It's of I mean, I am of the opinion that if something is, for me, the research is that if someone has, I believe the audience here is from the STEM, but I will just like give an example. If, for example, if someone has made this nanoparticle A doing this from it's very common here. I never worked on that, but it's very common to get a plant extract and make a nanoparticle out of it and do some five characterization, let's say antibacterial, anti-cancer, and everybody has done that. I mean, and then the other student will come, and then or with a project, or we'll hear another project. Okay, yeah, I've made the same nanoparticle from any other plant. So what's the difference? If I have one, why would I need another one? So you need to have a very analytical abilities. And I think these are the skill set which help you in progressing further, because the CVs and hiring systems around the globe is changing. They are not looking at degree names anymore. They're not looking at the grades anymore. They are looking at what kind of the skill set you have developed so far, and that will be I think that will be shown in the projects, in the analytical activities you have done so far, any product you have produced so far. It's not easy to produce and call that, okay, yes, I am making a commercial product. It's a super long journey. I didn't had a realization of it until I got into that business. I mean, I'm still so far, far, far away from getting my product to the market. So it's a super high, it's super long journey, but Alhamdulillah, I'm blessed to have have that experience. Though it wasn't, it isn't a rosy bed at all. It's not that okay. Yes, I've got a name or CV in my in I've mentioned, that tag in my CV that yes, I have patents and able to commercialize that patent, but it's not easy at all. You do realize after you are into business what are the commercial needs, and they are so different than what we think about them in the lab. So in my opinion, being a STEM woman in that, I think we need to talk to industry academia linkage is the must for every researcher, because unless and until you don't know what's required in the market, you will keep on using the research, doing the research, or gaining those skill set in something which is far from coming into the market. So I think, and in Pakistan, it's also very, wrong conception that we are a poor country, we are a developing country, we don't have enough resources to get a commercialized product. So it's a very wrong conception. For example, for the moment, I might, if I just share what I am working on a single slide, mm, share screen, may I? So if I just, what is that called? Okay,
Yes, you should be able to share the screen now.
okay, yes, I am able to. Sorry, yes, I'll just go for the slide. I mean, so I'm working on at the moment is that, it's a test strip which I am working on for the TB, and it is, it's for the TB test. We are developing a portable bio strip test. Now, strip is not an expertise of a biologist to make this material. I must say, but the things on that working electrodes or all of that, what will analyze that TB is my expertise, right? But while talking to the engineers, while talking to, and realizing how can we make a similar test strip for TB like a glucometer, we can actually, we proposed this proposal, which alhamdulillah got accepted, got patented, and then, we were able to commercialize it. And should be and these all technologies are already in the market. Cloud is there, phone, tablet, and connecting through the Bluetooth or wide universal wireless electrochemical detectors. There have been the technology itself exists. You just have to use that technology to create a product which is helpful for the people, in the limited resources region. Like for example, the TB, and you'll don't see those sad faces of those, kids, and you'll see them in TB is super, still it's beyond a control, and the diagnosis takes like 2 to 3 months. With this kind of technology, you will be able to diagnose them within minutes, within couple of minutes, literally. I understand any idea needs money, but the money is not a problem. Trust me. Wearing, if I just can stop, but or I can. Where this is not at all the problem. You know, how can I stop this share? Is it stopped or
Our backend support will take care of that,
okay?
I believe. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahrukh, for sharing such great insights. You're absolutely right that it's not a matter of there not being opportunities, but it's more a matter of spotting those opportunities and then acting on it. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Um,
welcome.
before we delve deeper into this discussion, we are going to come back to it for sure. We would like to hear quickly from two of our other stellar panelists. First, we will begin with Dr. Aisha Mahmood, who is an assistant professor of engineering education in University of Education, Lahore. She's in the Department of STEM Education, so really interesting. She holds a master's in computer Sciences from LUMS and a PhD in Engineering Education from UTM Malaysia. And her research focus is, I believe, really, really crucial, considering all the changes that we've seen in education during the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, starting from the switch to online education, distance learning, the need for virtual teachers, and so on. So she will shed light on some of the emerging fields in education to cope with this COVID-19 crisis. So I'll hand it over to Dr. Aisha now.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Saba, for having me here. And it's really an honor to be one of the panelists. I think my voice is clear to all of you. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm sorry I couldn't manage to get connected through my laptop, so I have just joined through my mobile device. And मैं आपसे पहले ही सॉरी कर लूंगी if there is a background sound because I am right now at my शहर के अंदर वाला घर, so there is a lot of noise around. Anyhow, so starting from what Dr. Shah just mentioned, and tracing a little backward, Dr. Shah just mentioned that we basically no more needing kind of just grades and all that. We also need the skills. And one more component that is, in my whole educational career, I have highlighted is of the attitude. So always there are three combinations, yeah, three things, three components of graduates, which graduate attributes which we need to focus on. That is, one is knowledge, the other is skills, and the third, which is most neglected one, is the attitude. So the attitude doesn't only the attitude towards your own success, it's attitude towards the society and whatever is happening around. Um, being part of the two different school of thought, like purely coming from engineering background and then joining education, I have got a strange kind of experience which I really want to share with all of you. When I was, you know, I started my journey from engineering. So with having a very positivist mindset that, there is only one way of doing things. And I am talking about the 20 years back when we were trained as engineer. Our problem solving skills were very, you can say, low at that time. But with the passage of time, we have developed some kind of critical thinking skills and problem solving skills. But now the skill set which is being required has entirely changed. So let me start with the concept of literacy. 20 years back, the concept of literacy was just like, if you are able to read, write, or speak some language, you would be considered as a literate person. But now the concept of literacy has totally changed. It's more about computer literacy, information literacy, digital literacy. And in fact, it's the integrated kind of a literacy, that how to use all those skills with variety of teaching and learning strategies to enhance students' learning, if we are talking about from education perspective. So uh, the school we needed has to provide universal literacy of a higher order, not that the lower order which we were dealing 20 years back. So it is now much needed that student on all levels of all ages with the motivation to learn and with the discipline of continuing learning. So there is a concept of lifelong learning that needs to be instilled in students also. It has to be an open system and accessible both to the highly educated people. It should not be restricted to just one community and the other community is looking for some very low quality education stuff. Uh, Now we have to impart knowledge both as substance and as a process. And schooling can no longer be a monopoly of schools. Education is in post-COVID society has to permeate the whole society. employing the organizations of all kinds, like business, government agencies, non-profit organizations, and most of them, in fact, all of them, should be focusing onto the learning and teaching of their and improving the quality of what you can say the literacy of all the main the key stakeholders. So in fact, I was just thinking 2 days back that coming from an engineering background and then joining from education community, that gave me a really good insight of the stories. Whenever I talk to my engineering colleagues, they used to say that uh, look, we are content experts. We don't need, pedagogical knowledge. We'll learn it by experience, and after 10 days, after 10 years, we'll be able to master that in one way or the other. And I used to tell them that through pedagogy, you can make yourself learn the stuff which you are able to do in 10 years' time within 2 years. So it's a kind of, a mean to accelerated achievement in terms of teaching and learning. But once I come to the education community, I have experienced the strange, uh, the insight that was that they are master of pedagogy, but they are lacking the content skill. So my opinion on that is that both of the community, they need to get together. So yes, we do need the industry academia partnership, but we also need the academia at different level to get connected and to contribute and to improve or what you can say to support uh, the concept of interdisciplinary domains, like the domains which I belong to. So once I've joined this new field, that is an emerging field right now all over the world, and I am the, one of the three only PhD holders in that field. What I have realized that since we people are afraid of trying new things, we people are afraid of taking risks. That's why the new venues and the new opportunities seems disappear. But actually, those opportunities are always there, and we really have to have that mindset. So I would say, in the post-COVID situation, which is a new time for us, new literacies need to be there, and new times plus new literacies always emerged as new mindset. So, what kind of a mindset do we need? We need to have a mindset that is somewhat, the Carl Dweck said that if a student or a person has been grown with a growth mindset, the success is very much probable in that person's life. Whereas a person with a fixed mindset would be having, roller coaster experiences in her success, in her life, professional life. So I would say that we need to upgrade the literacy level. We need to have new mindsets through which we need to deal with new problems. Those have emerged out of this COVID situation, and there are so many new domains and new fields and new ideas are coming up because of the interdisciplinary, in fact, the transdisciplinary effect of different domains. So you know. What I can share at the end is that it is much desirable to reform the STEM education. Generally, all over the world, and especially in the developing countries like Pakistan. Why? Because we are now into the trend. We need to learn the trend of education 4.0, that is mapped by industrial revolution 4.0. So to ensure the access of quality education at all levels, an education policy at national and provincial levels should be revised, and reformation in the STEM education is much more needed, considering the complex integration of different, the interacting pieces of public education sector that can either facilitate or impede the required pace of change. And there are multiple pathways of doing that and to influence the STEM education. And for that, we need to consider teachers' readiness, teachers' professional development, teachers' decision making about what to teach, how to teach, what kind of new technologies to be introduced. And there is also a need to develop conducive learning environments with latest facilities and resources. And this is the time in history where Pakistan should highlight the potential sources of change drivers and decision points so that they can facilitate the systematic change in STEM education. Moreover, it is very important to consider the changing role of a teacher and provide them the access to appropriate instructional resources. And it is much needed to run a capacity building drive to develop a sustained systemic change in STEM education within Pakistan. I'll end my a brief thought on that, and I'll continue with the with the questions you may have after our third panelist discussion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aisha. It's been a pleasure to hear you speak, and I've learned so much myself. You've touched upon really, really integral points with regards to this new normal for education, basically. And we'd love to circle back and come back to those points in a bit. For now, we would actually like to hear from Maryam Arshad, who has graciously joined us. Thank you so much, Maryam, for taking out the time. Maryam is the founder and director of Impact Dynamics. She has over 9 years of experience in building communities of entrepreneurs. And she actually, at Impact Dynamics, they create customized entrepreneurial curriculums and run workshops on tech and soft skills. She also leads the Google Business Group Peshawar, and she has a vast amount of mentorship experience and speaking and training experience as well. And today, we would like to get Mariam's insight on the preparedness of the entrepreneurial, or more specifically, bio entrepreneurial community in Pakistan from the skill set point of view to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. Take it over, Mariam, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Saba, for the very humbling introduction. I am delighted to be a part of this panel conversation with two doctors besides myself and Saba. I mean, we'll have you soon as a doctor as well. So, having said that, COVID has posed its own set of challenges. But when we speak of challenges, COVID has also posed its own set of opportunities for so many people out there, specifically in regards to the STEM, to the STEM, industry. If we very specific about technology, working with so many ICT startups, and specifically since we were actually curating the curriculum for a health tech incubator, I would like to talk about the community challenges and the community opportunities that we have
I believe we're having a little bit of connectivity issue. We're going to wait a bit for Mariam to reconnect. Okay, while we wait, Mariam, for you to reconnect, perhaps I can engage the other two panelists in a quick question that's been on my mind, and that would be, what is the one skill, in your opinion, in each of your domains that the workforce of tomorrow needs? Like one critical skill that you can mention. Dr. Shah, would you like to begin? Can you please unmute your mic, Dr. Shah? We cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize it. Uh, so as I mentioned earlier as well, I think
Yeah,
Mariam is
I'm
back, so
really
maybe
sorry
we
if
can
it's the internet
pick up.
connection. I don't
No
know what
worries.
I was on, but I was speaking about that we have worked with health tech startups, being a part of the entrepreneurial community in Pakistan, and especially and specifically working with ICT related startups, which is, of course, a part of STEM. What we have understood and what we have realized, that where COVID might have so many challenges, there are a multitude of opportunities, online opportunities as well, for all of these startups, for people working in the biotech space, for startups in the health tech space, because right before and right around COVID and right now, we are actually centering our work around health tech startups as I speak. And what we have understood is that Saba, a lot of learning, although there might be things that are critical to be taught in person. For example, I wouldn't really want a creative session to be done, online. I think I'd rather have people sit, have a close circle, do it in person. But there were so many other opportunities that came out. I think the world transitioned. The world is already a small place. We're all already connected online, but we transitioned towards a more closer space, a more safer space in respect to opening about and sharing our ideas. And there has been immense knowledge sharing. Like, for example, for our program, we had coaches for a health tech program. We had coaches from across, not just Pakistan, but across the globe, who might not have been a part of our program for our startups, otherwise. So I think that was a great opportunity, a very humbling opportunity for our startups and for us to begin with. Speaking about, when we talk about, so I was attending a very interesting, I was attending a very interesting session revolving around the skills of the future yesterday at a conference. And, the conversation actually moved towards, how during this pandemic, because there's a second surge coming up, and I think the first one has already, to some extent, prepared us for the second one. And how will we take things forward when we say that work will come to a halt, things will slow down? How would we still sustain ourselves? And let's be specific to the STEM over here in this case. And I strongly believe that I strongly believe that what can be done and what is being done is that online handles, like being a community builder, we've seen online handles like Slack and Trello for a start to be extremely efficient for team management, for management even between, if you want to get the information across to startups or close community groups, close community circles. Then there's another great thing that has started happening, is a great amount of outreach happening online through different communities. Collaboration, cross-pollination of ideas has actually started taking place on, I think it was already there, but now it is happening on a much larger scale, on a massive level. And it's not just cross-pollination of ideas in Pakistan, but it's like even cross-pollination of ideas between folks in Pakistan, in STEM and abroad. Like, I happened to meet a great person yesterday. I met Julia, and she's working on microbes in design, microbes in construction, and microbes in proteins. And it was a very interesting conversation that we had about it, and we're thinking of collaborating with her. So she will actually be our next guest for one of our programs, and that's going to be online. So I mean, learning has actually stemmed from being in a specific classroom to being online to having access to a lot of people. And as far as sustainability is concerned, because we spoke about the impediments, we know it's hard, we know it's challenging, and as we know that some skills might still require in-person presence, sustainability also stems from, like, I mean, Saba and Ramla, I have to quote both of you over here. I mean, fantastic job, very well done with the job fair. I think it's a great example of how sustainability can also happen. You design programs that are online, you get people to enroll for these online programs, and when you associate a certain cost with it as well, people take the program seriously as well, and they do happen to attend. So I mean, this is coming from my own personal experience, and I have seen organizations maneuver their gear towards this direction. I think they're doing a fantastic job. I mean, we're actually working on partnering with the World Bank and I2I for an investment readiness boot camp in January, and that's online, right? And we will be getting applications online, and we'll be running online. And I think sustainability can happen is possible as long as you work towards fostering these the power of online communities, not just in Pakistan but also abroad, and you take all of them together, and then you also associate that with a certain quality. There's a certain cost associated with the quality, so that people take you seriously and they do happen to enroll in these programs. So if we talk about digital learning, this is exactly what has been happening in this space. I hope this was of help.
Yes, immensely. Thanks a lot, Mariam. And I'm really, really excited to see what new projects you work on. It really sounds like you're making an impact in the health tech and health entrepreneurship sector. And I think a bit of a common theme that we've heard in this session is that collaboration across disciplines. We have to really, in Pakistan, blur the boundaries of different disciplines, reach out, connect with people in other departments, and try to come up with solutions that actually that actually address the problems that are coming up, because the problems are future centered, so the solutions also have to be future centered. Thanks a lot for that. We do have some questions, and I do have a few points that I would like to delve deeper into. First one being that we began with quickly in the middle. If you had to name one skill in your specific field that you think the workforce of tomorrow that's coming in from that specific field needs to have, what would that be? That one golden skill, if you might call it that. Dr. Shahrukh, would you like to continue?
Yes, Saba. As you rightly mentioned, I was about to say this networking as well, but that's for the general one. For specifically for because I deal mostly here, being at ASAB, mostly the students who come are from the biology background. But since the field, my field itself is very bioengineering and nanotechnology so based, so they, of course, we need to deal with the engineering bit as well. You need to have certain things. So what I would want to continue with that is, if any, there are many students, there must be many students in the audience, that if they are biologists, so it's just don't try to ignore maths altogether, please. So if you try to learn and then implement those mathematics, try to have little bit of physics and mathematics a little bit, and then coupled with that the general there are two types of the skill set. Number one, there are types like the very specific technical ones, like for example a certain knowledge or certain techniques, mathematics or statistics. And then there are non-translational translational transferable skills. Transferable skills involve able to be communicated, not afraid of talking and going out of box and going out of your comfort zone. Just so if that is coupled with some uh, some knowledge out of your own biology subjects, then this can do wonders, this can do miracles. You will have, you just don't, even if in today's age when we are collaborating, it's not about students, I'm talking about early careers and mid careers and even the professional career, women and people as well, not women, I mean in just that we, whenever we collaborate, we just shut off. Yeah, okay, this thing I don't have to think about, this my partner has to think about. This shouldn't be the attitude. If you don't know what do you require, you wouldn't be able to judge if you are getting the same things from the collaboration or getting a productive outcome from that collaboration or not. So I think even if there are certain aspects in your research or in your things which you want to do, you still need to have, you know you still need to have some knowledge about it. It's exactly like the same thing. If we want to, if we want to hire a cook at home, we still have the knowledge about how the cooking or, what do we want to eat, or what should it taste like. So it's even if we have, the people or workers or helpers who are helping us out in that. So it's the same thing. So I think a technical knowledge with both of these skill sets are important in my opinion. Transferable skills regardless of subject, regardless of any field, regardless of your age, they must be there. And along with, for the biology students, they have to have engineering, and the same goes for the engineering students as well. They have to have, if if if
Yeah,
if I'm hearing many bio application from six department and they don't know what is a cell at all, so it shouldn't be that isolated. So merge the boundaries.
true. Absolutely. Thanks a lot for that.
No,
Dr. Aisha, would you like to comment on what Dr. Shahrukh mentioned that, if have knowledge of the other fields, like especially since you have expertise in engineering education and you talked a bit about that, how important do you think is this pedagogical skill to be able to teach being an engineer? Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, but before commenting on that, I just want to tell you my, the picked one, the top skill which I try to instill in my students. That is adaptability, flexibility, and agility. This is the three names of the same thing. So you need to get yourself ready to the ever evolving landscape of education and academia. So, building upon that, I think pedagogical knowledge is a kind of technology, is a part of technology as well. Whenever we talk about technology, people used to think about tools and technologies only. But technologies are more than that, especially educational technologies. Though those include all the strategies, all the latest teaching methods like inductive teaching methods, new strategies, new methodologies, and all that. So, in terms of pedagogical aspect, I think it's the time to understand that if you are content expert, that is not enough to teach whoever the population you are teaching to, but you need to understand how a student is able to learn, how the brain works, how the social aspect of learning is there. So there are so many other things that you need to learn other than the content. So you cannot just rely on content and say that I am a very good teacher. No, that's not true. So I always used to say that content is not enough. You need to have pedagogical expertise, and in that, you need to upgrade yourself. And in terms of adaptability, you need to know when we are switching from face to face to online, what we have to offer, what kind of skill sets do we need, and we have to adapt according to the emerged situation. So अभी अभी ये हुआ कि लोगों ने they have some kind of enforced switch from face to face to online, but that make a little a pleasant uh, what you can say, a seed of change that has been planted because of this COVID situation. Because the teachers who really didn't want to go for the technological change, they are now up to that, and they have to have that change into their teaching and learning experience. So I would say that if you are adaptable enough, flexible enough in whatever the situation is, and you for that, one thing is a prerequisite, that is you need to keep yourself updated in terms of content, in terms of pedagogical knowledge, in terms of technological knowledge. So if you keep yourself updated, it's very easy to give you the agility to move from one mode to another. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very, very relevant. Thanks a lot for that. And you're right. We so many of the educators were literally like forced into this virtual learning. They were forced to become virtual teachers, and definitely there's an opportunity there as well. Of course, right now they're obliged to do it, but we hope that they're able to pick up skills from this. And I think that would be the success of future teachers if they're able to pick up the the positive aspect of this virtual teaching experience and really implement it in future teaching methods. I would like to hear from Mariam as well. Like if you're looking at the entrepreneurial sphere and talking about skills that are needed, especially like you mentioned these collaborative tools and so on. And okay, in entrepreneurship, you do have to connect across disciplines. And in-person communication definitely is different than online communication. So what is that one skill that you think the health tech innovator or entrepreneur of tomorrow definitely needs?
Saba, I absolutely love this question, but I don't have one. I have two skills that I like to name. Okay, so one of them happens to be a technical skill, the other one a non-technical skill. The technical skill is the fact is technology is taking over jobs. Let's be very honest, and we have to be very futuristic. If you see accountants, I think their jobs will be sacked. There's so many softwares. So people need to be affluent. They need to sorry understand how fintech operates, for that matter, right? The technical skill that any doctor, I mean, and this might come as a surprise to so many, any doctor, any engineer, any person in business administration, anybody needs to learn is coding. Coding is essential nowadays, and the sooner the people realize that you need to have like a basic understanding of the fundamentals of coding, the more I think progressive they will be in their journey down the road in their own career, their own profession, be it a lawyer, a doctor, somebody hailing from STEM. The other essential skill that no machine can ever replace, that is a mark of your EQ, but is equally important in whatever discipline you are a part of, is empathy. And this is very dear to my heart. I mean, we started our workshops with empathy at workplaces, and that is a building block for any organization, for any institute, for that matter, for any company or even any profession. So be it STEM or you're not from the STEM field, empathy is something that needs to be ingrained, and that's something that needs to be re-engineered, because we all happen to have empathy of some sort, some kind in us. But I mean, it's innate, but it needs to be re-engineered in us, and we need constant reminders. So these are two skills, the technical one being coding, the non-technical one being empathy, that I strongly will endorse, that needs to be out there. Yeah.
Really, really great pick of skills, Mariam. Absolutely. I mean, I'd like to comment a bit on the empathy part. I think, especially when you're in core STEM fields, for instance, you keep hearing that, yeah, just, be a robot. Like you're an engineer, act like a robot. Like there's that mentality a bit over there. But this is definitely something that we've seen since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, that the reality of how workforce is able to function was changing. You had to make space for all the personal things that are going on. Everyone does not have a home office to join in calls from, for example. Everyone has different responsibilities to take into account. So being able to empathize with all of that, definitely, I completely agree that the leaders of tomorrow, managers of tomorrow, any professional who wants to be part of this, futuristic normal, I would say, needs to keep these things in mind. That you're not just working with a technical expert, you're working with a human being as well. And I know it sounds a bit wrong to have to actually spell it out, but I suppose the way the workplace has evolved, this becomes important to really say it. It's been a really, really interesting conversation, and I myself have learned a lot, and I could continue for hours, to be honest. But unfortunately, we're running out of time. I think one key takeaway, if I may summarize from our conversation today, is that definitely there have been a lot of challenges that the STEM workforce is facing, continues to face due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But there are opportunities as well. If we try to zoom in on the opportunities, learn from every single challenge that comes up. For instance, from biotechnology point of view, okay, there are issues, yes, but if you have skilled biotechnologists who come up with ideas and are able to work across disciplines, we might be able to have our own diagnostic solutions. For instance, when we talk about digital learning, teachers are forced right now to teach virtually, but what is that one key takeaway that we can, involve in future classrooms? Or there might be some things that work much better when they're online compared with in person. Okay, then how do we keep those even when, inshallah, the COVID-19 pandemic is over with? And especially for entrepreneurs, okay, there has been a huge boom in Pakistan, with people trying to network and pitch ideas to investors, to others, to be able to start up their own businesses in all sorts of sectors, and especially in health tech sector as well. But of course, due to COVID-19, you have limited in person networking opportunities, you have limited interaction. But what are the tools out there that you can actually use to leverage to be able to, figure it out and move forward, I would say. So I think that that's really, really crucial for the workforce of tomorrow, for professionals of tomorrow who are, embarking in these fields, in STEM fields, to keep in mind and really learn from. And I think this panel definitely has been really informative for me, and I hope for the audience as well. I would really like to thank the panelists for taking out the time, for sharing your insights with us and engaging in this really, really critical conversation. Thanks a lot for everyone who is joining in the STEM for 20 job fair. Please take a look around. We This is the last panel before the break. We now have a 1 hour break coming up. Yeah, I know it's virtual, so take a stroll around, stretch your muscles. You have at your fingertips our expo booth where you can interact with employers and other organizations that are exhibiting with us. You can check out the networking arena to network, like we talked about, network in the new normal. We've enabled that for you as well. So be sure to check all of those out. And then after the break, join in for our next panel session. Thanks a lot.